I'm Nellie, and I felt like I had a decent hold on my life until lately. Over the past 10 years, I have risen through the ranks of Wilson and Clark Trading to become the leader of a department. Despite the long hours, the compensation is decent, and since my divorce 3 years ago, I need stability. Mark, my ex-husband, and I parted ways amicably. For the sake of our kid Jake, we remained cordial even though we both understood we had drifted apart. Since Mark works as a freelance graphic designer and has a flexible schedule, he usually picks Jake up from school, and I drop by his house after work to drop him off at home. It works for us, and Jake seems well-adjusted despite shuttling between two households. Mommy, can we go to Grandma and Grandpa's this weekend? One Friday night, as we were driving home, Jake inquired. I miss playing with Emily and Zach. I groaned as I looked at a red light on my phone's calendar. We hadn't had a family meal in about a month. Yes, honey. I'll give Grandma a call in the morning. In actuality, I had been delaying these family meals. Since she married Robert and had her 2 children, my younger sister Vanessa, who had always been the golden child, had grown incredibly irritable about her ideal family life. As if I had failed, she would always find a way to remind everyone that I was divorced whenever we were together. She would show off her new bracelet and remark, "Just wait till you see what Robert got me for our anniversary." It must be so hard managing everything on your own, Nellie, she would then add, feigning sympathy. I wasn't bothered by it. I was aware that Vanessa had always admired my professional achievements. She married Robert, a mid-level insurance salesman, after dropping out of college. They had financial difficulties, particularly with 2 children, but I had been able to provide Jake and myself with a good existence. Vanessa's hypocrisy was what really got to me. She never thought twice about calling me when she needed money, even if she was condescending. Our insurance won't pay for Emily's braces, Nellie. Would you be able to assist us till Robert receives his commission the following month? Nellie, we need to repair the transmission since our automobile broke down. Can you give us a $3,000 loan? We'll reimburse you by the summer. I never asked, and she never returned a single dime. That was simpler. Not much better were my parents. Mom had already retired from teaching because of her arthritis, and Dad lost his job 3 years earlier when his firm downsized. They were crying when they phoned me, fearing that they might lose their home. What began as a one-time bailout became a monthly commitment, and Dad never found another employment at his age. I've been sending them $1,500 a month for the last 3 years to pay their bills, including utilities. It didn't bother me. After all, they were my parents, but it made things difficult financially. I contacted Mom on Saturday morning to inform her that we would be joining her for supper the following day. Oh, that's wonderful. Mom sounded really happy. Vanessa will also be present with her family. I am preparing a pot roast. Jake was excited all weekend. I can't wait to show Zach my new Minecraft world, he said as we drove to my parents' modest suburban home Sunday afternoon. When we arrived, Vanessa's car was already in the driveway. Jake ran ahead while I grabbed the apple pie I brought from the bakery. I never had time to bake from scratch like my mom and sister. Inside, Jake immediately disappeared upstairs with his cousins, their laughter echoing down the stairs. I found Mom in the kitchen and gave her a quick hug. As I arranged silverware, I overheard Vanessa and Robert talking to my father in the living room. Their voices were animated, excited. "It's a sure thing, Dad," Robert was saying. "We've done the research. This food truck concept is going to take off in our area. No one else is doing authentic Filipino fusion cuisine. We'll be our own bosses," Vanessa added. Financial independence at last. I bit my lip to keep from laughing. Neither of them had ever run a business, and Robert couldn't even cook. Last Christmas, he burned the mac and cheese. But I kept my thoughts to myself and finished setting the table. When Mom called everyone to dinner, we all gathered around the table. Jake sat between his cousins, all 3 kids giggling about something on Zach's tablet. "Kids, put that away during dinner," Vanessa said, then turned to the adults with a bright smile. So, we have big news to share. Here it comes, I thought. Robert and I are starting our own business, a food truck specializing in Filipino fusion cuisine. Robert's grandmother left him all these amazing recipes, and we found the perfect truck for sale. My parents made appropriate noises of excitement and support. Dad clapped Robert on the shoulder. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said. "You've always been so creative." Vanessa beamed, then cleared her throat. "We just need a bit of startup capital, about $150,000. The room went quiet. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. "We'd love to help you out, sweetheart," Dad said slowly, "but we just don't have that kind of money right now." I cleared my throat and took a sip of water, buying myself time to think. Everyone was staring at me expectantly, like I was about to announce I'd fund Vanessa's ridiculous food truck scheme. "I'm sorry," I said firmly, "but I don't have that kind of money either." Vanessa's smile faltered. "What do you mean?" "I know you got money from the divorce settlement. You and Mark were saving for a house." "That money is in Jake's college fund now," I said, which wasn't entirely true. Some of it was. But I'd also invested a portion for my own retirement. After all, no one else was looking out for my future. "Well, you make great money at your job," Vanessa pressed. "You could take out a loan. The bank would approve you with your credit score and income." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You want me to go into debt for your business idea?" "It's not just an idea," Robert jumped in. "We've got it all planned out. We'll pay you back as soon as we start making profit." "Which would be when, exactly?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. "Have you calculated your operating costs? Your break-even point? Do you have any experience running a food service business?" Vanessa's face flushed red. "You don't need to be condescending just because you have some fancy corporate job. Not everyone wants to be a wage slave their whole life." "I'm not being condescending," I said. "I'm asking basic questions any investor would ask. Look, I think you should talk to a business advisor before jumping in. The failure rate for restaurants and food trucks is really high. You're just jealous," Vanessa shouted, slamming her hand on the table hard enough to make the silverware jump. The kids stopped eating and stared wide-eyed at the adults. "You've always been jealous that I have a real family and you're divorced. Now you can't stand the idea that Robert and I might be successful and independent while you're stuck in your corporate cubicle taking orders from someone else." She stood up so abruptly, her chair nearly toppled backward. "Come on, Robert. Kids, get your things, we're leaving." Robert looked uncomfortable but stood up dutifully. Emily and Zach, clearly confused, scrambled from their chairs. Jake looked at me with wide, worried eyes. "Vanessa, don't be dramatic," Dad said. "Sit down and finish your dinner. I'm not sitting at the same table with someone who wants to see me fail." Vanessa snapped, grabbing her purse. "Let's go now." And just like that, they stormed out the front door, slamming it behind them. An awkward silence fell over the table. My parents exchanged glances. I waited for them to say something, to acknowledge how unreasonable Vanessa was being. Instead, Dad sighed heavily. "Nellie, your sister has been dreaming about this business for months," he said. "You know how much it means to her." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Dad, they have no business plan, no experience, and they're asking for a huge sum of money. Would you invest in that?" "It's not about investing," Mom said quietly. "It's about supporting family." "I support my family plenty," I said, feeling a flush of anger. "I've been sending you $1,500 every month for 3 years. I've loaned Vanessa money countless times that she never repays. How much more support am I supposed to give?" "That's different," Mom said. "We needed help, and you could afford it. And now I'm saying I can't afford to give Vanessa $150,000. Why is that so hard to accept?" Dad shook his head. "Your sister is trying to build something for her family. You could at least consider helping her." I stood up, suddenly feeling suffocated. "I'm not changing my mind about this. Vanessa needs to be realistic, and you two need to stop enabling her." I called to Jake, who reluctantly said goodbye to his grandparents. The drive home was quiet, with Jake staring out the window. "Are Aunt Vanessa and Uncle Robert mad at us?" he finally asked. "They're just disappointed," I said, trying to find a child-appropriate explanation. Sometimes adults get upset when things don't go their way. I thought that would be the end of it. Vanessa would calm down, realize she was being unreasonable, and we'd all move on. I was wrong. The calls started the next day, first from Vanessa, then Robert, then both of them. I answered the first time, trying to be rational. "I thought about it, and my answer is still no," I said firmly. "I'm not taking out a loan for your business." "You're just being selfish," Vanessa shot back. "You don't want us to succeed, because then you wouldn't be the successful one anymore." "That's ridiculous. I want you to succeed, but I don't think this is the right approach. Don't tell me how to run my life. Just say you're too greedy to help your own sister." After that, I stopped answering their calls. The text messages were worse. "You've always been jealous of me. You look down on us because we don't have fancy degrees. Selfish bastard. You'll regret this when we're successful." I considered asking my parents to intervene, but it was clear whose side they were on. So I blocked Vanessa's number and tried to focus on work and Jake. 2 months passed. I skipped the monthly family dinners, making excuses about work deadlines. Jake kept asking about his cousins, and I felt guilty keeping him away from them. But I couldn't face another confrontation with Vanessa. The only contact I had with my parents was Mom's monthly calls, which had become noticeably colder. "Just checking that you'll be transferring the money tomorrow," she'd say, without asking how I was or how Jake was doing. "Yes, Mom. It'll be there as usual." "Good. Your father's prescription costs went up again." And that would be it. "No, I miss you," or "How's Jake doing in school?" Just a business-like confirmation of the financial transaction. One evening, Jake looked up from his homework with a serious expression. "Mom, why don't we go see Grandma and Grandpa anymore? Did they do something bad?" I sat down next to him, trying to figure out how to explain adult conflicts to a 9-year-old. "No, honey, we're just taking a little break from family dinners. Sometimes grown-ups need space from each other." Jake seemed satisfied with that answer. But it got me thinking. Thanksgiving was coming up, and we always spent it at my parents' house. They hadn't called to invite us this year, but maybe it was time to break the ice. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I asked Jake, "Are you looking forward to seeing Grandma and Grandpa tomorrow?" "Yeah." His face lit up. "Do you think Grandma will make her special stuffing?" I hesitated. "I'm not sure if we're invited this year, honey." His smile faded. "Why wouldn't we be invited? We always go there for Thanksgiving." I couldn't bear the disappointment in his eyes. "You know what? You're right. We'll go anyway. I'm sure they'll be happy to see us." In truth, I wasn't sure at all. But I didn't want Jake to miss out on family traditions because of adult disagreements. The next morning, I woke up early to prepare my signature sweet potato casserole. Jake helped me cover it with foil when it came out of the oven. We drove to my parents' house at the usual time, arriving around noon. The driveway was full of cars. I recognized Vanessa's SUV and a couple that belonged to my aunts and uncles. Jake ran ahead to the door while I carefully balanced the casserole dish. He rang the doorbell, bouncing with excitement. "Mom, open the door." The smile on her face froze when she saw me standing behind Jake. "Nellie," she said, sounding surprised and not particularly pleased. "We weren't expecting you." "It's Thanksgiving," I said simply. "We always come for Thanksgiving." She hesitated, glancing back inside the house. I could hear voices and laughter coming from the living room. "Well, come in then," she finally said, stepping aside. "Jake, your cousins are in the basement playing video games." Jake immediately darted off toward the basement stairs. I followed Mom into the house, still carrying my casserole. The familiar smells of turkey and stuffing filled the air, but the atmosphere felt tense. When I walked into the dining room, I saw Vanessa helping set the table. She looked up, and her expression hardened instantly. "What is she doing here?" she demanded, glaring at Mom. I stepped forward. I brought sweet potato casserole, I said, holding out the dish as a peace offering. Vanessa marched over, snatched the dish from my hands, and, to my shock, walked straight to the kitchen garbage can and dumped the entire casserole into it. "We don't need anything from you," she spat. "You're not welcome here. Get out." "Vanessa!" Mom gasped, but she made no move to stop her. "What's going on?" Dad appeared in the doorway, looking confused. "Nellie showed up uninvited," Vanessa said. "After she refused to help us. After she's been ignoring everyone for months. She thinks she can just waltz in here like nothing happened." I started. "You thought wrong." Vanessa cut me off. "You don't get to pick and choose when to be part of this family. You made your choice when you refused to support us." She stormed past me toward the basement. I followed her, concerned about what she might say to the children. When we reached the basement, Jake was sitting on the floor with Emily and Zach, all three of them focused on a video game. "Emily, Zach, come here right now," Vanessa commanded. The children looked up, confused. She grabbed both her children by their arms and pulled them away from Jake. "You are not to play with him," she said loudly, pointing at Jake. "His mother is a bad person who doesn't care about family, and he'll probably turn out just like her." Jake's face crumpled. "Mom," he called out to me, tears welling in his eyes. I was frozen in shock. How could Vanessa say such a thing in front of a child? Before I could respond, Dad appeared on the stairs. "Nellie, I think it would be best if you and Jake left," he said, his voice firm. I turned to him in disbelief. "Dad, you can't be serious. Vanessa just said horrible things to Jake. He's 9 years old. This is our house," Dad said, "and frankly, you've caused enough problems. If you had just helped your sister like we asked, none of this would be happening." I looked around for support, but Mom stood silently at the top of the stairs, avoiding my gaze. My aunts and uncles were nowhere to be seen, probably still in the living room, pretending not to hear the commotion. "Fine," I said, my voice shaking with anger and hurt. "Come on, Jake. We're going." I took his hand and led him up the stairs. He was crying silently, big tears rolling down his cheeks. As we passed Mom, I paused. "I can't believe you're letting this happen," I said quietly. "Your own grandson." She finally met my eyes. "You brought this on yourself, Nellie. Family supports family." We left without another word. In the car, Jake was inconsolable. I started the car, but I had no idea where to go. The thought of going home to an empty house on Thanksgiving was too depressing. Then I had an idea. "Hey, how would you feel about going to Grandma and Grandpa Miller's house instead? I bet they'd be happy to see us." I called Mark, my ex-husband, and explained what had happened. "That's awful," he said. "Of course you should come over. Mom always makes too much food anyway, and they love seeing Jake." When we arrived at the Miller's house, they welcomed us with genuine warmth. Mark's mom hugged me tight. "You poor thing," she said. "Family conflicts are the worst, especially on holidays." Over dinner, I told them the whole story about Vanessa's business idea, the money demands, and how my parents had essentially chosen her over me. "I always thought your parents favored Vanessa too much," Mark's mom said carefully. "Even back when we first met you in college. I never wanted to see it," I admitted, but I can't deny it anymore. Despite everything, we ended up having a pleasant evening. Jake cheered up playing board games with his dad and grandfather, and for a few hours, I felt like I was part of a real family again, one that actually cared about me as a person, not just a source of money. As Jake and I drove home that night, I made a decision. When we got back to our apartment, I logged into my banking app and canceled the recurring $1,500 payment to my parents. For the first time in years, I fell asleep without worrying about stretching my budget to support everyone else. 2 weeks passed without a word from my family. No calls, no texts, not even from my mother, who'd been so insistent on checking when her monthly money would arrive. I threw myself into work and focused on making the upcoming Christmas holiday special for Jake to make up for the Thanksgiving disaster. One evening, my phone rang with my mother's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Nellie, it's Mom. Her voice sounded strained. There must be some mistake with the bank. We didn't receive your monthly transfer. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry about Thanksgiving. Just straight to the money. Something inside me hardened. There's no mistake, I replied evenly. I canceled it. Silence on the other end. Then, what do you mean you canceled it? You can't do that. We're counting on that money for our bills. I can. And I did. After what happened at Thanksgiving, I don't think I owe you anything. Nellie, that was just a misunderstanding. Your sister was upset, and things got out of hand. A misunderstanding? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You and Dad kicked out your grandson on Thanksgiving. Vanessa told her kids not to play with Jake because he's bad, and none of you did anything to stop it. We were upset. People say things they don't mean when they're upset. Well, I meant what I said. I'm done sending you money. Mom's tone changed instantly. You have no right to do this to us. After everything we've done for you, we raised you, put you through college, and I've been paying you back for 3 years. $1,500 every month. That's $54,000, Mom. I think we're square. This isn't about keeping score. We're your parents. You're obligated to help us. Funny, I didn't feel like your daughter when you chose Vanessa over me and Jake. You're supposed to be Jake's grandparents, but you let Vanessa treat him terribly. You're just being vindictive because we took your sister's side about the business loan. This is petty, Nellie. Think whatever you want. I'm done. I hung up. The calls started pouring in after that from Dad, from Vanessa, even from aunts and uncles I rarely spoke to. I refused to answer. When the calls didn't work, they started showing up at my workplace. I was in a meeting when my assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but your parents are in reception. They're insisting on seeing you. I excused myself from the meeting. In the reception area, Mom and Dad looked disheveled and desperate. This is inappropriate, I said quietly. I'm at work. You won't answer our calls, Dad said. What choice did we have? I've said everything I have to say. Please leave before I have to call security. Mom burst into tears, a performance that had worked on me countless times before. How can you be so cruel? We might lose our house. I've supported you for 3 years. I have my own family to think about now. Find another solution. Fine, Dad said, his face red with anger. But don't think you can come crawling back to us when you need something. I almost laughed. When have I ever been the one crawling to you for help? It's always been the other way around. I gave the security guard a signal. Please escort them out. Mom yelled back, your sister was right about you all along, as they were dragged away. Vanessa texted me that evening, saying, you resentful, self-centered jerk. You might cause Mom and Dad to lose their home. Miss High and Mighty Corporate Drone, I hope you're content. Her number was blocked by me. I then proceeded to block my parents and other family members on all platforms. It felt unexpectedly freeing. I saw my cousin Rachel at the supermarket store a month later. When she saw me, she appeared uneasy. With caution, she said, How are you, Nellie? Thanks, I'm okay. How are things going for you? She paused. Observe. I was invited to speak with you by your mother. To pay for their mortgage, they had to take out a loan. They claimed that you left them because you were envious of Vanessa's successful marriage and angry about your divorce. I gave a headshake. Is that what they're telling everyone? I think so. Additionally, Vanessa has been attempting to borrow funds for this food truck venture from everyone. Can you believe that she approached my husband to ask for a loan? Like we've got $150,000 laying around. Did she tell you I refused to give her the money because I'm jealous? Rachel gave a snort. That kind of thing. But no one is buying it. Vanessa has always been about money, as we all recall. Do you recall my wedding? She attempted to convince me that the open bar was wasteful. It was nice to hear that not everyone in the family had turned against me, and we both chuckled. How's Jake doing with all this? Rachel inquired. He is strong, yet he misses his cousins. My ex-husband's family has been amazing, and we spent Christmas with them. I'm happy, Listen, next month is Emily and Zach's birthday celebration. My kids and I will be there. Is Jake interested in joining us? To spare you from having to face Vanessa, I could come get him and take him home. I thought about it. That's really kind of you, but I don't want to involve Jake in adult disputes. Instead, let's schedule a play date with your children. I felt lighter than I have in years when I completed my food shopping. My monthly financial burden had vanished, along with the emotional toll of attempting to win over unsatisfied individuals. Jake looked up from his schoolwork that night. Mom, are we ever going to see Grandma and Grandpa again? I took a seat next to him. I'm not sure, friend. Grandma, Grandpa, and Mommy need some time apart right now. Because they were mean to us at Thanksgiving? In part. Additionally, adults can disagree on significant issues. He considered this. Like when me and Zach disagreed about which Pokemon is best and we didn't talk for a whole day, I grinned. That kind of thing, but with greater gravity. However, you'll always have Dad, myself, and Grandma and Grandpa Miller, who adore you no matter what happens with them. He returned to his schoolwork after appearing content with that response. For my part, I was at last prioritizing my son and myself. It was time to make an investment in our future after years of serving as the family's ATM.